All right, as promised, here he is, the Czar of the Playbook, Emory Hunt, CBS Sports, and so many other things. Why don't you tell people, because I haven't run out of breath. You must get like 20 W-2 forms at the end of the year.
Well, not anymore, man. CBS Sports has me tied up a lot, but
Okay.
I still do call college football games, so I'm a college football color analyst. But CBS Sports HQ and college football color analyst, Football Gameplan, still the owner of that, and that's doing really well. So I keep it simple now, man. But I'm
Go.
still spread really thin. I would also add since the last time we talked, I've added pro football color analyst to my resume because over the summer I called some European League of Football games, like the Ryan Fire, Barcelona Dragons. Their league starts in the spring and goes until early September. So I called some games last year. So now I can add pro football color analyst too.
I love it. I love it. First time you were on was probably 7 years ago when Phil and Shane were still here, and we covered a bunch of stuff, and that's where I met you, and I caught up with you at the Senior Bowl, introduced myself, and have you on annually, and it's been a treat. I really appreciate you making time for us, brother.
I appreciate you always having me, man. It's been a pleasure to watch us both grow.
There you go. There you go. All right, so I want to start with the draft guide. Let me put it up on the screen here. There it is. Outstanding work. Again, over 400 pages of analysis on football players. And what I love about it, Emory, is that it is in-depth on players you never heard of, because some of these guys aren't covered. You have an affinity for these D2, D3 players. You go out of your way to scout them and include them in your handbook. I applaud that, man. That is a fantastic job.
It's over 1,200 pages.
1,200. Oh
yeah,
my God.
Like it is over 1,200 individual scouting reports. And the cool part about that is the fact that this is our largest one yet. Every year we tend to top our previous year, and this one was so special about it. It's over 1,200 individual scouting reports, 1,228 to be exact. And we have over 50 CFL draft prospects, because we know guys like Theo Benedict find their way on the NFL roster. So we went out there and scouted over 50 of the top CFL draft prospects. And you'll notice even within the regular prospect in there, you'll see a red circle or red square at the bottom of their scout report that lets you know that person is also in the CFL draft that may be a U.S. player. So we've done a lot this year, excited about it. And there's a lot of talent out there, man, because I go to all 8 All-Star games. So why not scout everybody that I've seen and throw them in the guide?
Absolutely. I marvel at your skills to be so organized and so in-depth and detailed. You must be like an organizational genius, man.
Well, for this, it helps because, as a color analyst, you're always looking for stuff for the broadcast that's easily digestible and just the information you need. So let's say my draft guide reaches the reason why I love it, that it's useful for an entire season and off season. So let's say Theo Benedict signs with the Bears, right? In the middle of the season, you trying to figure out, well, who the hell this guy is they signed off the street. And you go to my guide, bullet points on what he can do, where he needs to work, what his attributes are, the games I watch to get this grade, and boom, there you go. You got everything you need right there. You don't have to worry about no 3-cone drill, none of the stuff that you don't worry about in the middle of a season. Everything that you need to know is right there. So yeah, you got to keep it organized, because that's stuff that I would like to see.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I'm thumbing through it. I apologize to you before we started rolling here. I wish I would have set a reminder. Purchase this thing as soon as it's available. I got it today, and so this is the week of the draft. But this thing is going to be useful for years to come, and definitely weeks to come. So if I'm watching a preseason game and they're from the Indianapolis Colts, is somebody that I'm not familiar with, I can open up your guide, and that player's name is likely to be there along with your analysis. That's outstanding.
You know what's funny, man? If someone purchased my guide, because the first one, you remember, I used to put out my stuff just on my YouTube channel with my grades and videos. But if someone purchased my draft guide since 2020, when I first put them out, right now you would have over 5,400 individual scouting reports at your fingertips.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Talk about putting the work in. Outstanding. All right. So as I'm thumbing through it, electronically thumbing through it, I come to the running back position because the big talk of the town here in Chicago is to find a complementary back to DeAndre Swift or perhaps his heir apparent. And so I'm always interested in seeing what you have to say about running backs, because you are going to have names that mass media reporters usually don't have at the top of their list. So I grabbed 3 screen grabs. Here is Trevor Etienne, Jaden Blue, and Montrell Johnson. You've got these guys ranked pretty high on your board. Is that correct?
Yeah, especially Blue and Etienne. You're talking about backs 4 and 5 in my rankings.
Outstanding. And tell me why you have them. Like, you have both of those backs above Quinshon Judkins. Tell me why.
Well, I think Trevor Etienne has the best vision out of any back in the class. And when I talk about someone having great vision, imagine us sitting at the upper deck of Soldier Field and we're watching a run play out, and instinctively you're saying, oh, the hole is open over the right side. And as you're thinking that, before you even say it, the running back hits the hole on the right side perfectly, right? Etienne has that vision of where he's able to arrive there with patience, the balance, seeing the hole open up. As it's opening up, he's getting there at the right time, and it's almost like poetry in motion. He's hitting it beautifully, like musical notes strung together well. That's how he runs the football. His vision is top notch, and if you have great vision, you're going to play a long time because your vision will never fade. Your speed will fall off, your elusiveness will fall off, but seeing it and getting there will never fall off, and he has that trait. And for Blue, it's just the home run hitting speed. He ran a 4.35 at the combine with a pull groin. So imagine at full health what he runs, and he plays that fast too. So when you talk about someone like Jaden Blue, you're talking about someone that my colleague over at CBS, Brian McFadden, put out a great comp for him. He's like Chris Johnson. I was like, yeah, exactly. Now he just has to gain a little bit more weight, run through some of those arm tackles a little bit more. But man, if he hits it and it's a lane, goodbye. Like, he is gone. That's how explosive he is. And Johnson was someone I've watched since, and this is a running theme through the guy. I should put another star in by players that were former Louisiana Raging Cajuns, because Johnson was one too. That got out of Dodge, but watching him since he was a Cajun, and I love how he just got better and better. And he was mostly a touchdown merchant at UL, goal line guy, and played that role really well. And then we saw him kind of play that role at Florida, and then he became a little bit more the feature back, and we got to see how fast he was at the combine, really running 4.4. I didn't know he had that in him, but he's someone that would be a good, 1B to someone's 1A, and someone that could be also a pace setter, in which I feel like the Bears kind of need. So if they don't go running back very early in the draft, someone like any one of these backs would fit in perfectly with a DeAndre Swift, who we know, when he's healthy and he's out there, man, he's fun to watch. And I just keep thinking of that Packers run where he set this. You saw him when he broke outside on that crack toss. I was like, oh, that defender is dead in the water. And he set him up so beautifully, and dude didn't even touch him. And so that's the type of stuff you get when you get a DeAndre Swift.
Outstanding. And I included Montrell in that list of 3 because for the last few weeks, we've had a couple of guys in our chat room when we do live shows saying, hey, have you guys seen this Montrell kid? This Montrell kid down south, he can run. And so I wanted to get your comments on him. But those first 2, Trevor Etienne and Jaden Blue, to have them ranked, what was it, 4 and 5? That's quite the compliment. And I'm a big fan of Blue because I really would love to see a back in the Chicago Bears backfield, a la a Tariq Cohen, a la a Gale Sayers, those guys who run that 4.3, run that 4.4, and can break open big plays. That's what Ben Johnson kind of relied on with Jahmyr Gibbs, and maybe he can find that out a guy like Jaden Blue. You think that's possible?
Definitely possible. And we saw it, and it's funny about Blue, man. Blue wasn't really the guy at Texas. Like, it was supposed to be C.J. Baxter, and then he got hurt in the preseason. Then the next guy was supposed to be the guy. He got hurt in the preseason. So it was Blue and the other back that kind of had to, compliment. And Blue, anytime he got the ball like double-digit times, he had over 100-something yards. And so we still haven't seen the best of Blue. So that's the beauty about him in terms of an upside as a prospect. And he came out saying like, hey, man, I know what's coming back, healthy in that lineup at Texas. I may be back third or fourth string. So let me strike while the iron's hot. And I think when you have someone like Blue and you have the ability to really hit that home run, and this is the point I brought up about Jahmyr Gibbs, and people gave me flack in 2023, I believe, when I had Jahmyr Gibbs as my RB1 over Bijan Robinson. I was like, listen, Jahmyr has the type of explosiveness and acceleration that you can see. Like, rarely can you look at somebody like, oh, this dude is getting faster. You see that with Blue, and what that does is it puts defenders on their toes, because at the end of the day, your fits better be correct. Your angles to the ball carrier better be correct. You can't have a false step. Otherwise, it's 88 and out the gate, and he is gone. And we've seen that play out with Jahmyr Gibbs, and Blue has that type of giddy up in his game.
I recall that time a lot of people were making fun of people like you for having Jahmyr Gibbs so highly ranked at number 1. People then went after Holmes, the GM with the Lions, for making that pick. Boy, everybody's eating the words now, right?
Yeah, listen, it's fascinating because Jahmyr was like that at Georgia Tech. Mm-hmm. And when he got to Bama, I was like, oh, man, they gonna kill it. But they was putting them in a tandem. But I was like, man, this is the better back. And I'm glad Detroit slowly started to realize, like, how about we just leave him out there? You know what I'm saying? And just keep, because him out there does as much damage as you giving him the ball. Yep. Because it's the threat of him out there keeps your personnel what it is, because you don't want to get slower with a guy like that, because it's going to be an easy decision to give him the ball.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Lions now distribute the carries now that Ben Johnson is no longer the play caller. But that's their problem, not ours here in Chicago. All right. Always looking for a wide receiver. And I started looking through your guide, and I thought to myself, I want a wide receiver who can block downfield, because I truly believe that Ben Johnson is going to rely on the run heavily this season as Caleb Williams gets acclimated to the new offense and further acclimated to the NFL game. So I came upon this guy, Rashad Owens. Tell me what you like about this guy.
Veteran type guy, played at Oklahoma State. And a lot of the big runs we saw Ollie Gordon hit, another one of those talented backs in this class. You saw his blocking on a perimeter. And he plays a physical game. He's someone that can, handle the intermediate passing game rather well, catch that short in route, break a tackle or two, but also run a physical route against contact and work himself open and body up a defensive back, but block it on the interior. I think he can also play that big inside receiver. I like to call it that F receiver, kind of like that Marcus Colston type, where he could be tightly aligned to the line of scrimmage, can block inside, bang inside, but also run and work well versus that short zone and win versus tight man coverage. Because he's not the fastest, but he's someone that plays a physical game, and that's on both ends of offense.
Your line there, I loved it. Plays like a bully. Yeah. So when I saw that, let me keep reading, because I like bullies. It reminds me a little bit in that little bit of tape that I saw of him, and in reading about him in your guide. It reminds me a little bit of Marty Booker, who used to play with the Bears back then. I mean,
Northeast
Marty
Louisiana guy.
Yeah. Marty was one tough guy, man. It was like the Bears were trying to punish him. Go over the middle again, Marty. Go over the middle again. But the guy was standing. He had hands the size of suitcases. So Rashad Owens is a guy I'm going to be looking at. And then this other guy that you had under slot wide receivers, A.J. Jackson. Tell me about him.
From Lake Forest, is nearby.
That's right.
And was fascinated by it. There was like 20 scouts that went up to Lake Forest this year to check him out. He is someone that can play running back and receiver. And like, he was a starting tailback, but also was a starting receiver. So when you have that type of ability, you're getting someone that not only can help you out in the wide receiver run game, but also can keep you kind of creative on what you want to do offensively. If he's in the backfield, you don't know how to read him. He could be a tailback and has proven to be a good one at that, but also can get out there and get busy in the slot. I love how he also has some kickoff return experience and was a fantastic kickoff returner at Lake Forest. So now you have a tri-threat, running, receiving, return game. So he's going to be a core special teamer. That's always a plus on day 3. Ran about 4.5-ish, upper 4.5, low 4.6, but someone that has good football skills and the versatility of playing both positions and starting and thriving at that Division III level. But man, Lake Forest, Jim Cantizaro, the coach out there, has done a fantastic job in developing this talent, and they had a lot of pro scouts go check out Mr. Jackson up there at Lake Forest.
Outstanding work. This guy looks like he could be a special guy. You think he'll get drafted, or might he be an undrafted free agent?
He'll be an undrafted free agent, but he'll definitely be one of those priority guys because you don't get that many scouts going up to see a Division III kid during the season if you don't have motion. So he'll be in someone's camp for sure. Probably Chicago if he's smart, based on going somewhere where you have a creative offensive coach that can utilize your skill set.
Yeah, and Ryan Poles has said many times he likes to draft local guys because he thinks that there's a inherent want to succeed with the Chicago Bears, a franchise that they've probably been following. Let's switch topics here quickly. Overall, in this NFL draft, what do you think the big storylines are going to be day one, Thursday, this upcoming Thursday? What are the big storylines that you're looking forward to?
Where Shedeur Sanders goes now, and I say that in just complete befuddlement, because if you're the Cleveland Browns and you're looking at your quarterback depth chart and it says Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, it screams he should go too. And so when you think about someone that is the most pro-ready quarterback that we've seen since Andrew Luck, and people are like, oh, how could you say that pro-ready? What pro-ready means in my eyes is he's battle-tested. He's gone to 2 downtrodden programs. He went to Jackson State, elevated them, didn't lose a conference game, went to Colorado. They were 1-11 the year before, got them to 4-8. And in that 4-8 season, they started out, 3-0? And they were competitive in a lot of those 8 losses. And then the following year goes to 9-3. So he didn't go to Alabama, Ohio State, or one of these big programs and had a lot of talent around him. So he went somewhere and they were able to build up and play well. And he, again, this is someone that has touch timing accuracy, anticipation, need to have it moments, game on the line moments. We saw him complete 2 Hail Marys against Baylor. The guy dropped the first one, and then he threw the second one the next play to the guy in the end zone for the touchdown, a shorter guy at that, while under duress. And we've seen him excel in third down offense, red zone offense. In fact, in red zone offense, his freshman year, a true freshman at Jackson State, he had 30 touchdown passes and no interceptions inside the red zone. And so think about that. And so combined in his 2 years at Jackson State, he had 47 touchdowns and 2 picks. So the 2 picks inside the red zone came as a sophomore. So this dude is money in the clutch situations. And on top of that, he has been under the scrutiny of being Deion Sanders' son at a spotlight position and has excelled everywhere he's been. So if anybody's able to handle the media or the pressure of starting quarterback in the NFL, having been in the spotlight before, having gone through some adversity at programs and teams that hadn't been successful, like, man, you can't get tailor-made than that.
You're a lot closer to the pro game than I am. Are there, do you think, or are there that smear campaigns against certain players? I mean, we saw the Laramie Tunsil. Somebody released a video of the guy smoking marijuana. It appeared through a gas mask hours before, or maybe an hour before the draft, and an obvious attempt to smear him. Does that really happen in the NFL?
Absolutely, it does. And so what happens is too, so you have that element of it, and you also know how stuff gets smeared about because teams know media members will say anything. So imagine if a scout came and told me, like, man, Emory, I heard, Shedeur Sanders like to smoke Play-Doh. Like, as absurd as it sounds to me, I'm like, oh wow, that's crazy. But in my mind, I'm like, man, that's stupid. Ain't no way these smoke Play-Doh. But some media members like tweet out, man, sources have told me Shedeur Sanders smokes Play-Doh. Like, even if somebody tells you something that you know on his face might be bogus, that doesn't mean you go out there and just repeat it. But they know media members will repeat anything for just to say, oh, I have a source, right? And so if they go out there and say, whether it's super nefarious or just something silly like Shedeur blew the interview with the Steelers, like, and then he comes out and say, oh man, I had a fun time with the Steelers, like Mike Tyson, like, so who to believe, right? But we know media members will go and say whatever somebody tells them just for them saying I have a source, right? So at some point you got to be like an adult and be like, okay, you told me this, all right, cool. But then, like, man, that's dumb, man. I didn't think I'm supposed to go in. And what they don't realize is if you hold the information, they tell you even more stuff. You know what I'm saying? Say, oh, he's not the type to go and talk. Like, so that's all. So yeah, smear campaigns definitely happen.
Well, it's too bad that certain players are victims of that. Any player that's a victim of that, it's too bad. All right, Emory, before I get you out of here, I wanted you to play Ryan Poles for the Bears' 10th pick. So I've got this set up. This is, let's see if I can put it on the screen here. All right, so I've got the Pro Football Network mock draft simulator loaded up here with the first 9 picks. Cameron Ward has gone to the Titans. Travis Hunter has gone to the Browns. You like Travis Hunter going to the Browns?
I would rather Shedeur Sanders, but I'm not mad at Travis Hunter because this guy could legitimately have been a first-round pick at 2 positions on his own. Like, that's how insanely athletic and talented this dude is.
Yeah, he really is something. And he's going to play a lot of snaps in the NFL. Maybe not 1,000 like he did last season in Colorado, but quite a few. Abdul Carter goes to the Giants. Armand Membu goes to the Patriots. I don't see that happening, but Mason Graham going to the Jaguars. Genti going to the Raiders, as many have been speculating. Will Johnson, that's kind of a surprise, going to the Jets. Jalen Walker going to the Panthers. And Teteroya McMillan going to the Saints. I can argue with some of those, but you never know. It could happen. And just as predicted, right? Shedeur Sanders is still on the board.
Oh, man.
Unbelievable. All right, so let's see what the trade offers. There appears to be 2 trade offers. Seahawks are asking you to drop down to 18. They'll take your 10th, and they'll send a pick 50, but they also want 240. And then the next trade is actually something that I've been entertaining a little bit, Emory, is just trading out of the first round because there's so many. Once you get to pick 10, depending on how the board drops, right, there are so many guys who are graded similarly by many, and from like 8 or 9 to 50, 55, whatever it is. So this trade sees the Browns trading back in. They're probably going to get their quarterback at 10, and the Bears would then pick at 33, first pick of the second round, 94, and get Cleveland's first rounder. Would you pull the trigger on that?
No. And I mean, if you're Cleveland, that would be perfect because you still, like you say, Shedeur Sanders is still right there, and they can take the Shedeur Sanders and pair him back up with Travis.
Yeah.
Which would be a match made in public relations heaven for the Cleveland Browns. It would sell so many jerseys, right?
Indeed.
So, while I would love to see that happen in terms of Shedeur going to Cleveland with Travis Hunter, if I'm Chicago, I'm like, pick 33 is I won't be able to get the guy that can continue to foster my development of my young quarterback at 33. I can get good depth guys, but I can get good depth guys anyway. I can't get the impact guy I want at 10. So I will stay at 10 and rebuff those decisions because 18 is too far, in my opinion. Although I would love the other pick, the second round pick, but I'm not swapping. That was 240. Yeah, but I'm still not giving up that 10th spot, man. Because this is here's my philosophy. When we're picking in the draft, if you are, let's say there's 5,000 eligible college seniors that are, redshirt juniors or whatever the case, right? Guys that are eligible for the draft, 5,000. You mean to tell me I get the 10th best player out of 5,000? I like those odds. You know what I'm saying? Let me scrape off the top. That's why I would never trade out of 1, or unless you have to give up king's ransom for me to trade out of one. So I would say I would stay at 10 because I can get me an elite football player, not a good football player, an elite one right here where I'm at 10.
All right. Well, let's find out who are you going to pick now. Will Campbell is there. How are you on this debate about shorter arms at the tackle position? Does it scare you off of players like Will Campbell?
Not at all, because you have to prove it to me first. And remember, I was on this show screaming to the high heavens about Tariq Cohen should be the starter, right?
Yes.
So my thing is size is not a skill. If you're good enough, you're big enough. And the example I always use is the Mike Tyson example. He was outreached by virtually everybody he fought. It did not matter, right? Because he knew at his height how to get inside. So he had to be agile, had to be quick. He had to bob and weave, and then boom, he knocked you out, right? So if Will Campbell had short arms and he became a highly touted first round pick, that tells me he knows how to play with his short arms, right? So I think, but for this team, Braxton Jones was an easy target. I think Braxton Jones can play, right? And I know Emagaji got put in the fire last year. He's someone else that's still young, can develop, good talent. You got Darnell Wright on one side. You did a great job in free agency getting some starters. So I would bypass the Will Campbell pick.
Okay.
But I will go Tyler Warren and take the tight end. Because now we got a young quarterback that has an athletic tight end that can be this team's version of the George Kittle that you can move around. Then once we get inside the red zone, we could take him out, have him be the Wildcat quarterback, and not just run tight end power. He can throw the football. So now you got your own little version of Taysom Hill out there in a bigger body that can do a lot of different things. And you pair him up with Cole Kmet, and now you got some weapons. You got Cole Kmet, you got Tyler Warren, you got DeAndre Swift, you got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, hopefully taking another step forward. This offense, as we talked about last year, without the offense, I was like, oh, man, this is tailor-made for a rookie to step in and play well. Well, now you really have a guy with an offensive line that's strong in the middle where you have to be strong. You added a very good tight end, elite level tight end in Warren. You got a good tight end in Kmet. You got some good receivers on the perimeter. You got a good back, and this is a deep back, a running back class like we talked about earlier. So we can find someone else to pair up with DeAndre Swift in round 2 or whatnot, and we can go out there and get busy.
The Bears have the draft capital to fulfill just about any plan that they have. I love your selection of Tyler Warren. He is an incredible weapon. His versatility is something right up Ben Johnson's alley. It could really jumpstart this offense. What do you think? You mentioned that the Chicago Bears improved the interior of the offensive line by acquiring Joe Thuney, signing Drew Dahlman, and acquiring Jonah Jackson from the Rams, who played with Ben Johnson in the interior in with the Detroit Lions. Do you think if you've got those 3 guys, and given that Jackson has an injury history last season with the Rams, are you looking for depth in the interior of the offensive line?
Absolutely. And you want to make sure, because I'm looking at the depth chart here, you're looking at guys that can, we got some good depth on tackle, but this is where you have some of those other picks for the guard class. You can get some guys in rounds 3 or 4 that can help you on the interior, because right now you're planning on your guys being out there healthy, and push coming to shove, you can build solid depth behind those guys. I think they've done a good job at the tackle position. We talked about Amagaji. We talked about Benedette, someone that can kind of work himself into the mix, get acclimated to the NFL game, or playing in the States. And you got some guys that you can work with depth-wise. And so, you can continue to add talent. They've also gotten better on the defensive interior. So they're really stronger at the point of attack. You bring in Grady Jarrett. I think Adengbo is someone that's criminally an underrated signing, because he was balling coming out of college, got hurt in the pro day circuit, and so the coach drafted him, and he just now got back to what he was pre-drafting. But by that time, his contract was up, And so he tests, so the Bears are getting the guy that we saw coming out of college. You know what I'm saying? And so
Love it.
that's going to be good for their point of attack. And now you can go build depth there on the defensive line behind those guys, in addition to in the secondary. So that's why I would take that 10th pick and just go get a playmaker, whether it was an offensive player or defensive player. I will go get the playmaker. I could have entertained Shamar Stewart there, but I was like, you know what? You drafted a quarterback high. Don't misuse him like you did Justin Fields. Throw weapons at him. You know what I'm saying? Make it quarterback proof. Like, make him have no bad decisions. And because everywhere he's going to go is a playmaker. That's why I went with Warren.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick, and I love your analysis of the offensive line for the Chicago Bears and what they might need there to improve. And you're right. Braxton Jones, I think, is criminally sometimes undervalued. Yes, he's had some issues with the bull rush, but the guy has exceptional skills that you would normally find in a day one, day two type left tackle. And the only reason he fell to round 5 when the Bears selected him was because of the school he came out of, and he was just simply overlooked. But the guy, if he's gets healthy, because he's recovering from an ankle injury now, if he gets healthy quickly, he should be the starting left tackle this season, or he could lose his job to Karan Amagachi. We don't know, but we'll find out. Before I get you out of here, Emory, tell people where they can find your guide, your draft guide, and where they can find you and your work.
Find the draft guide at footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. It's the largest draft guide out, and it's a valuable resource all throughout the season. And I'm going to tell you why. Because 2 Saturdays ago, Cole Jones out of North Carolina Central signed with the BC Lions. And he's in this draft class. I scouted him at the HBCU Legacy Bowl in February. And so he just bypassed the NFL. Was like, I'm just going to sign in Canada and not even play around with the NFL, hopefully getting drafted or hopefully getting signed. We had a scouting report on him. I looked at another guide. All they had was his name and height and weight. So therein lies the difference. We gave you a full breakdown on this game. So footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. It's the largest draft guide out there, over 1,200 individual scouting reports. And you can follow me on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. And you'll see me on CBS Sports HQ for days 2 and 3 and the Sunday following the draft this week. So I'll be on there just giving my analysis and thoughts on what happened, who's available, what to expect, what did I thought about the pick. So all that stuff right there on CBS Sports HQ.
We usually cut together a highlight reel of the draft coverage and analysis by experts such as you. So I'll be looking for your comments on Chicago Bears draftees included in our highlight reel. And I will be bugging you again sometime in the future for you to join us here at the bar room. All right, brother?
Looking for it, man. Hey, preseason, when we see when the Bears got the picks in and who's the free agents that they signed, let's talk.
I love it. And when next time you're in Chicago, I got the beer and food are on me, right?
Don't tempt me with a good time, because I'm gonna bring my appetite.
I love it. All right, Emory Hunt, thank you very much.